Hello, everyone. Hope you are well. Wanted to go through the CNBC homepage just to pick out some stories of the day that are interesting and most likely relevant to your investing future and macroeconomics. First and foremost, I'm sure what everyone is talking about right now, I don't know if you've heard, but Elon Musk bought 1.5 billion in Bitcoin. At least Tesla did. So they took some of the cash they had on their balance sheet, which I think was, let's go ahead and click on the article to see if we can figure that out. I want to say it was either 19 million, or excuse me, 19 billion. So right here, I'll go ahead and highlight it for you. So they had 19 billion, there we go, of cash or cash equivalents on hand at the end of 2020, and they took 1.5, so maybe a 5% position in Bitcoin. Now, of course, this sent Bitcoin through the roof. I believe last time I checked, it was up at like 44,000. Seems like more of corporate America is doing this. What is this pop-up? Okay. Seems like more of corporate America is doing this. Again, I don't know if this makes me any more bullish. Kind of not. I think longer term it makes me more bullish, and shorter term it makes me less bullish. Maybe not. Now that I'm thinking about it, it probably does make me more bullish because this is a wave of enthusiasm that seems to be growing. And although I would never, ever, ever invest, I would never go out and buy Bitcoin or anything for that matter, gold, oil, copper, XYZ stock, real estate, you name it. I would never buy anything because I thought that there's a lot of momentum behind it. And a lot of people are buying it. Therefore, I think more people are going to buy it in the future because they're going to get caught up in the excitement. I mean, I would. that's why I sell things. It's not why I buy them. But especially if there's a lot more of these guys that can really move the market, like Musk and Chamath and Michael Saylor. If these guys are coming in and just talking it up over and over and over and over again, they've really got the ear of the public. Obviously, especially Musk, and then Chamath as well. I see it probably going higher, but the reason you sense hesitance is I don't like those reasons for it going up. I would much prefer that it's going up because it's getting greater adoption, or there's more use cases for it. The transactions are getting a lot higher, and now that may be happening, but I wish that was the front page news that was moving it, not that this celebrity CEO is buying it with 5% of the cash on their balance sheet. I think you get it. Long term, I think it's great for Bitcoin, even though it might not be getting accepted more from a standpoint of transactions, although I'm assuming the transactions are growing, but I don't know that the transactions are growing to the point that would justify the price move that we've seen in the last, call it 3 or 4 months. I do think that there's obviously more adoption of Bitcoin for people and CEOs and corporations who see it as a digital store of value. It's a digital gold, if you want to call it that. I think it serves a much, much different purpose than gold. And as far as Musk, listen, I've got a lot of respect for Musk, but I think there is a strong argument, and I'm not saying one way or the other, but I think there's a strong argument that he's in the same category as Chamath. in the sense that although Chamath has never created a company, so I hate to insult Musk by putting him in that category, but Chamath, I think, is a lot better salesperson than he is investor. He's got a great track record, but would he have had that track record without the Fed? I don't know. And if his rationale for buying all those things that he bought that went up is, oh, the Fed's going to create liquidity, okay, great. But that wasn't his rationale. So it's like the person that says Bitcoin is going to go up because of their astrological sign, or because Saturn is in the ring of Pluto, or what, say that's why Bitcoin's going up, and it goes up. Is that person right or wrong? Well, I would say they're wrong. Bitcoin did not go up for that reason, most likely, based on your astrology. But you get my point. So the takeaway for me is this is really interesting, really cool. It's neat to see Bitcoin being adopted as a store of value. As far as is Elon doing this because he thinks it's a store of value, or is he doing it because it'll get a lot of press and he understands his target audience very well, and he knows that this will just buy him even more brownie points with his target market and get them to continue to have diamond hands, let's say, with the Tesla share price or stock, which allows him a lot more flexibility in managing the business. Or maybe it's a little bit of both, probably a little bit of both, right? But okay, moving on, let's go back. So unfortunately, this gentleman, I guess, passes away from COVID. I'm not sure if there were any comorbidities. Ron Wright of Texas, sitting member of Congress. And it's just to point out that for a specific demographic of individuals, COVID's, it's worse than the flu. Now, for a large percentage of the United States or humanity, I would argue that's probably not the case. But now that doesn't mean that we should do lockdowns and all these other, in my opinion. This isn't to argue the merits of lockdowns or masks or anything like that. I think it should be up to the individual, but it does remind us that, this does affect a certain percentage of the population. Fortunately, it's a very low percentage that it affects. But, we'll continue to have to see how this plays out. From an economic standpoint, I think that we're going to have to deal with this for quite some time, whether we like it or not. And I think the next issue we have, whether it's with this cerveza sickness 2.0, let's call it, or if it's with the next bird flu or swine flu, I think this is going to be kind of the default where you go back into it. Although it's an interesting juxtaposition with California that they've recently opened up. And I would assume they did that because they just can't take the economic pain. So at a certain point, there is a cost benefit analysis, and the costs do outweigh the benefits, even for that group of people who believe that, COVID is the worst thing since the Spanish flu. Even those people, I think, would get to a point where they see the costs outweighing the benefits. If the cost is a total destruction of the entire economy that leads to a lot more downside than what we already have with this unfortunate illness we're dealing with. This is one thing I wanted to highlight as well. Goldman Sachs say rising interest rates don't threaten the bull market. Recommend long-term comeback plays. I don't understand how you can hold these two thoughts at the same time. And the two thoughts are, okay, rising rates don't threaten the bull market, but lowering rates helps the stock market. So if lowering rates helps the stock market, how does rising rates not hurt the stock market? See, what we're doing here is we're just, or not us usually, but the talking heads at CNBC, the market, let's say, they're just trying to find any excuse to say that the market should go higher. I mean, to the point where they just contradict themselves constantly. There's no intellectual North Star, so to speak. It's just what is happening today. Well, how can we spin that to make it sound like that's bullish for the stock market? And this is what happens when you're in a stock bubble. Let's go back to 2008, 2009. If you guys are in my age group, I'm sure you remember when the market crashed, when the S&P 500 was down by 50%. You never saw headlines like this, that this doesn't threaten the stock market. And there it's the complete opposite, where everything threatens the stock market. We could have a 70-degree weather today, and that threatens the stock market somehow. So it just goes to show you how inefficient markets are, because the participants in the marketplace themselves are human, that and these human beings are driven on emotion, imperfect human beings in an imperfect world. And those are the participants that are trying to come to the conclusion through buying and selling as to what the price is. Well, a lot of times we human beings get things wrong. And what happens is you overshoot on the upside, and then you overshoot on the downside. And it's just a matter of making sure that you're selling when you're overshooting on the upside, and you're buying when the market is overshooting on the downside. And my point is, right now, you just don't see these headlines when we're at a point in time when the market is cheap. You don't see these headlines when we're at the beginning of a new bull market. You see the opposite headlines. So just kind of keep that in mind. That was the main article I wanted to go over. It's just everything you see, everything that I saw on my phone today as far as news is just the economies, corporate earnings are great. The economy is doing better. We should all be bullish because there's a vaccine. Dow's at all-time highs. S&P's at all-time highs. Just, I don't know that I've ever seen more cognitive dissonance in the market. And just as a society, we're just whistling by the graveyard. And it just seems it seems unbelievable to me that quote unquote professionals that we see right here on CNBC homepage are not even looking at the real economy. They don't even care about the real economy anymore. It's almost like a kind of a nuisance that they even have to talk about it. Like, oh, that stupid real economy. I wish it would just go away. Then all we'd have to do is just focus on the Fed printing money, government running huge deficits, and the stock market going to all-time highs. If only we could just live in that world where there's no connection between the fact that the stock market actually represents, or should, companies that are in the underlying economy and their profits. We've completely lost touch with that. That what you're buying when you're buying a share of something is you're buying a future revenue stream. You're buying a future profit. I would almost guarantee you that the majority of the people buying stocks right now aren't even cognizant. They don't even care about future earnings. They don't care about profit. Profit? What is that? Who cares? I just want to know if the stock's going up tomorrow. Just unbelievable. That's the news right now. And I'll see you guys here in a couple hours. I'm going to interview Luke Groman. Looking forward to that. That'll go live on the George Gammon channel this evening. So I will see you on the next video.